Alright, so today I'm actually going to be reviewing Ultrakill. After 300 hours of Ultrakill, this is my honest review of Ultrakill. I believe that Ultrakill is a very good game with very good and fun gameplay. Very fast paced, although I know it's not for everyone. Now let's put this video up into multiple segments. First, I'm going to be talking about the music. First, I'm going to be talking about the gameplay value. And then I'll be going on to music and sound design. And then I'll just go into my overall thoughts. So first, the gameplay. Very fast-paced, as you can see right now, especially on the harder difficulties. Which is why I'd recommend everyone play, if you decide to play this game, I'd recommend standard and not violent or brutal. Because brutal is, well, brutal. Of course. I mean, who would have guessed? You know, brutal difficulty? Brutal? Who would have guessed? I would have never guessed that, actually. But that's beyond the point. Now, you have multiple weapons in your assortment, and they all do different things. First is the revolver, which is your first weapon that you ever get in the game. Which you have the piercer, which is under, as everyone knows, is under the Mayo's favorite weapon for whatever reason. In fact, it's like the worst weapon in the game, especially the standard piercer. There's also the alt piercer, which is just better and deals more damage but has a slower fire rate. And then you have the marksman, which is, in my opinion, the most overpowered weapon in the entire fucking game. Because it targets towards enemies' weak spots. The alt marksman's not as powerful because it's harder to hit split shots. Not impossible, just more difficult. But not impossible. And you can't do dead corning, really. Well, I think, actually, no, you can. It's just, again, harder to hit. But I would not, but it has a slower fire rate, so I wouldn't recommend it. And then you have the sharpshooter, which is somewhat overpowered, where you spin up the weapon for a split second and then you release it. And when you release it, it starts bouncing all over the place. And it does this for a maximum of 3 for the regular variant and a maximum of 4 for the alt variant. And the alt variant deals much higher damage. And it's just overall better. But only has 1 charge. Unlike the standard variant, which has 2. And then you have the shotgun, the core eject shotgun, which, if you use rail cannon, allows you to nuke for, and as well, and core eject. Well, you're able to eject a core with the alt fire, which, well, shoots a core, which explodes. And it can be useful in some strategies, but also can kill you. And then you have overpump shotgun. I'm not going to get into the jackhammers because I don't want this video to be, well, too long. And plus, most people don't really go for jackhammers, so. But then you have overpump, which is quite powerful if you do it correctly and don't kill yourself, because overpumping it too much, well, will cause it to explode. And if you don't dodge it, that explosion deals 50 damage to you. Yes, 50. Yeah, you heard me correctly. 50. And then you have Sawed On, which is quite overpowered because it has a chainsaw, which deals a shit ton of damage to enemies. And you can parry it with both your Feedbacker and Knuckle Blaster. And I'll also go into the arms real quickly as I'm talking about shotguns. You are able to parry your own projectiles whenever it comes to shotguns, which is really fucking cool in my opinion. With the feedbacker, the Knuckle Blaster is a big giant arm that deals more damage when punching, and if you hold down the punch button, will create a shotgun blast, which will instantly kill any fodder enemy. And I mean instantly. And then, let's go on to the nail gun. The regular nail gun sucks, in my opinion, because it's a reloadable weapon. Well, so is the chainsaw, but it's a little better. Because you get 10 chainsaws. I mean, not chainsaws, sorry. Saw blades. And, well, when you put the nail down with the attractor, it attracts all nails towards it, and as well as saw blades and some metallic and some robots as well, because well, they're metal. And then we have the overcharge, where if you shoot it for long enough and you hold the alt fire, it increases the sickle rate by a shit ton. And it's the same with the with the chain and with the saw blade, it just launches a shit ton of saw blades. And I mean a lot. Now let's talk about the rail cannon, which you can rail coin, which you can shoot your coins, by the way, on the marksman with anything except for, well, a few things like rockets. And, well, first is the electric rail cannon, which I would not recommend using underwater because it damages you. Which kinda makes sense if you really think about it, because it's electric. And then you have the screwdriver, which launches a screwdriver. But, well, the area of this screwdriver is very tight. So, well, let's just hope you don't miss. Shit. Anyways, the screwdriver is pretty overpowered in my opinion because it deals damage gradually, and it's very good for dealing damage to bosses and getting good stuff with bosses. And then you have the malicious rail cannon, which, well, does the malicious charge beam, which, well, deals a shit ton of damage, but also deals a shit ton of damage. And if you shoot your core with your core eject this, with this, it explodes with a red explosion. Which red explosions well, are the biggest type of explosion and deal the most damage to enemies. And then you have yellow explosions, which deal the least amount of damage to enemies. And then you have blue explosions, which only certain enemies do, which are only from certain enemies when they die. Now, is the gameplay perfect? No. There are quite a bit of bugs, and most of them are quite funny, but some of them are extreme, like whenever an enemy decides to no-clip through the map. And this is especially bad when you're trying to P-rank, because it means that you literally can't kill the enemy. Other than that, though, I think the gameplay is very good. And back to the rocket launcher. which first is the one where you can, the standard one, where you freeze time, which allows you to rocket ride if you, well, ride on it. And then you have the SRS cannon, which, when holding Alt Fire, charges up a cannonball, which deals a shit ton of damage to especially Cerberus, or as I like to call, Saddam Hussein. And then you have the final one, the Fire Starter, the final weapon. Oh yeah, I forgot the Whiplash. Shit. Well, the Whiplash, well, will build up hard damage when used. But it allows you to whiplash enemies towards you or you to enemies, which is very useful. Now, the Fire Starter, which, when holding Arc Fire, will spew out a bunch of oil. And this oil, well, if you shoot the oil with any explosion, will cause it to light on fire. And now, let's go on to the music. The music is very good, and I'd heavily recommend you guys listen to it yourselves, because it is very good. Although if you're not into very intense music, it might not be for you. But it's absolutely probably the best soundtrack I've ever heard in any indie game ever. I've heard a lot of good indie game songs. So that's saying something. I'd say that's even better than Doom Eternal's soundtrack, but that's entirely preference. That is entirely preference, though. I'd recommend, and it's actually kind of what got me looking into this game, by the way. So I'd heavily recommend you guys check it out. Maybe you might like it. You don't know until you, well, give it a shot. Now, the sound design. Each enemy has its own unique sound whenever it spawns, and, well, and also whenever it's attacking, so you can tell. Well, not really whenever it's attacking, but each enemy has its own unique sound, so you can tell what enemies are in or have spawned in, which is very good sound design in my opinion. Very good usage of sound design. And now we're going to be moving on to the final segment of the video, which, that being overall closing thoughts. I'd give this game overall a 9 out of 10. Not a 10 because it's very good, but not perfect. There are a few bugs that completely break the gameplay, that completely just break the game, that Hikita has not fixed, but some of them are really funny, others are really bad when they happen. And yeah, so it's not perfect, but it's pretty damn close. As it is the best FPS I've ever played in my... It's probably the best game I've ever played in my entire life, in my opinion. And you know this by the fact in the past 3 months, I put 300 hours on this game. And overall, closing thoughts. Hikita, I think you really need to add more hot robot sex.